This week's bottom line for our story is Jesus came to do amazing things. Our verses for this month is the crowds were amazed at his teaching from Matthew. And our Bible story this week is about Jesus' baptism. So we're going to cover two aspects of his baptism. Number one, him going in and out of the water and how that was amazing. But we're also going to talk about how God was Jesus' father. So some of our activities are going to talk about dads this week and how God loved his son Jesus so much, and how his baptism kind of began some things for Jesus. So the first activity, everybody should have a sheet in their bucket, and you put the sheet on the floor and have the kids stand around it. That's going to be your river. So that can kind of give them a visual picture of Jesus getting into the river. But you have them jump in and out of the river, and in your curriculum page, it kind of gives you some different activities to do with that. And that's to stress how Jesus went into the river and something fantastic happened. So that's kind of like a hint at what the story is going to be. And the second activity, if you have your kids sit in a circle, everybody should also have a ball. And this game is called the Ball of Love. And you sit in a circle and toss the ball to someone, and when they catch the ball, they have to say the name of somebody they love. And then they throw the ball to another child, and they say the name of someone they love, and that just kind of continues around. And that's going to kind of give them a visual of the theme that Jesus wanted to show everyone about how much he loved God. And the third activity is, everybody should have some of these in their bucket, and I'm going to come close. There are fathers and sons. So there's 3 or 4 different animal groups, and so you just hide the sons around the room, and you hold up the father card and say, ask them what this is, and tell them this was the dad, and ask them to go and find the son that matches this picture. So then they'll have to go in the room and look around and see where you have hidden the baby chicken, so they can match up all the dads and the sons. So that kind of teaches them, that kind of help you explain a little bit about the relationship between God and Jesus. And then the last activity is kind of a continuation of what we did last week, jumping and talking about amazing things. And then also this one says, let them see how high they can jump, and jumping up and down and up and down. And that talks about how Jesus went up and down when he was in the river. So baptism is kind of a big concept for these little kids, but all these activities will really brings it back down to their level and gives them a good way to kind of understand what all that means. And the craft is super cute. It's called Jesus' Baptism, and they will have a paper plate that they color blue. Everybody will get a picture of Jesus, and then you just stick it on there, and then you can see how Jesus goes in the water and comes out.
And that's really great, because this might be the first time that the kids ever learn what baptism actually means, and the fact that the process is of, people being submerged into the water and coming back up. And this will be a great visual for them to take home with their parents and actually talk about being baptized and being dunked in the water. And part of the story that we talk about for the lesson says that God shined a light on Jesus after he came out of the water, and he says, this is my son and I love him very much. So that will help the kids understand what baptisms are, and then that'll be great for them to actually talk about at home with their parents.